to Spoiler Piece Theater, the podcast that doesn't give a shit about spoilers. We just want to talk about the movies. My name is Megan Kearns. My pronouns are she, her. I write film reviews for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast, member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and a member of Gallica, the Society of LGBTQ Entertainment Critics.
And my name is Dave Riedel. I use shitty audio to make your life worse. And my pronouns are he, him. And I write about movies, and I'm also a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
So. Right. So, gang, you may have noticed during my intro there that I sound like I am inside of a trash can that's been hit with a mallet and then thrown off a bridge. And it's because I am in Georgia doing some family business. And you don't know this because I don't think I've talked about it in the show, but every time I travel somewhere, I have this quirk, an unfortunate quirk, that I forget one thing. Sometimes it's my toothpaste. Sometimes it's my contacts. Sometimes it's, my ass. I don't know. This time I forgot my microphone for Spoiler Piece. So I am using my AirPods, which just don't they have the loveliest quality. So I'll try to talk as little as possible this week, which is fine because I only saw one of the movies on the main show.
I know, but that'll make me sad. But yes, I'm still delighted you're here, as I know our listeners are. So, bad audio or not, we march on.
Yeah.
And Evan is off this week, so we're holding things down. And we have 3 movies we're going to talk about. But before we get to that, I want to tell you about Patreon. On this week's bonus episode, we talked about the 1986 the movie The Manhattan Project, the sci-fi thriller, ? Because it's not really a thriller, although there is one scene that is thrilling. I say Dave's more on the fence about it. But anywho, we had a great conversation talking about it, and a conversation talking about, do things from your childhood and nostalgia hold up? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So if you're a patron, go check that out. And if you're not, consider joining. And for this week's episode, we're going to be talking about M3GAN 2.0, the sequel to the sci-fi horror movie M3GAN. We're going to be talking about the indie comedy Rent Free and the documentary My Mom Jayne. So I saw M3GAN 2.0, and so I'm going to tell you all about it and Dave all about it. So first of all, this is interesting. It's always interesting to me when a film, especially one that is so successful, that has received critical acclaim, changes course and goes to a slightly different genre than what it succeeded at initially. And so the first movie is a sci-fi horror. This one is not really a horror, unfortunately, and is way more a comedy action movie. And it's a choice. It's a choice. We'll get into whether or not that's a good choice. But yeah, so the director of the first film, Gerard Johnstone, is back, and he directed this one too, and he also wrote this one. And the story, he also co-wrote the story along with Akilah Cooper, who was one of the screenwriters for the first one, along with James Wan. And this one also sees the return of Allison Williams and Violet McGraw. And of course, M3GAN is back. So here is the synopsis from the press release. 2 years after M3GAN, a marvel of artificial intelligence, went rogue and embarked on a murderous and impeccably choreographed, this is a funny synopsis, rampage, and was subsequently destroyed, M3GAN's creator Gemma has become a high-profile author and advocate for government and oversight of AI. Meanwhile, Gemma's niece, Katie, now 14, has become a teenager, rebelling against Gemma's overprotective rules. Unbeknownst to them, the underlying tech for M3GAN has been stolen and misused by a powerful defense contractor to create a military-grade weapon known as Amelia, the ultimate killer infiltration spy. And then I'm not going to read the rest, because basically what they have to do is they have to bring M3GAN back and put her in another body to fight Amelia, the other killer robot. So it's one killer robot against another killer robot. Very Terminator 2, where there's not just one Terminator, but now there's two of them. And yes.
Or like Double Whatever with Jean-Claude Van Damme, where the guy actually says, "There's two of them." So.
Yes, I forgot about that movie. You're right.
What is
you
that
are
called?
Right.
Double. It's not Double Dragon.
No, it's Double. I want to say Double Trouble, but that seems just dumb.
No, it's
not possible.
Double Happiness. No. I don't remember. I'll remember it, but I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
That's all right. That is all right. So, yeah. So the cast is back. The people who survived, which were Allison Williams as Gemma, and you have Katie, and Gemma's team, her two scientist workers. And so the movie opens, and it already has it immediately expands the universe of the world, in that we're on this spy mission with Amelia, and we don't know she's a robot at first. We think somebody who's like, I'm just a tourist, and she gets shot. She's murdered. And then they drag her body into this like cell, her dead body, and then she comes back to life in a very weird way. Like she moves like the way a human body would not move. And then she kills everybody. And so this is like a dry run for this assassin robot. But then she goes rogue, and she doesn't listen to the military anymore, and she's got her own agenda. And so the whole movie is about figuring out what her agenda is, who's controlling her, has she gained her own awareness and is working on her own accord. And Gemma is rebuilding M3GAN's body, because M3GAN didn't really die. She's been hanging out for 2 years, like bodiless in computers and spying on Gemma and Katie. And she's still very focused on Katie and protecting Katie, which was her mission that she was programmed with initially. And so, so she gets a body. They reconstruct her body so she can fight Amelia, and they can stop Amelia. And they go to a party. They have to crash a party. There's a dance. There's dancing, because of course M3GAN dances, because she danced in the first one. So she's got to dance again. And there's some killing, but not a lot. And it always cuts away. And I'm very sad, because it takes away from the horror elements of it. So it's not really a horror movie. There's no real tension. Nobody seems to be scared. Like kind of all the trademarks of a horror movie. There's no horror score. There's nothing. Very disappointed. But M3GAN is still great. Very, very fun. Very, very sassy. The dancing is kind of campy, but still not as campy as the first one, unfortunately. But yeah, so anyway, so Gemma does not trust M3GAN, because why would you? This is a robot that murdered 4 people and a dog. And tried to murder her. Like, why would you think that she's okay? But she's learned. She swears she has learned, and she was a kid then, and now she's growing up, and she understands things. So so Gemma gives her some, like, she had an inhibitor chip on her behavior, and she takes it off so she can fight Amelia. And then, things go wrong, and Gemma is utterly convinced that it's M3GAN's fault. But surprise, it's not M3GAN's fault. It was actually Gemma's douchey boyfriend to be, who's also like her business partner and is like working with her on some anti-AI legislation. And he's the one who actually was running Amelia the whole time. And then he wants to steal the tech from Gemma, and then decides he's going to kill her and her coworkers too. But then M3GAN saves the day and sacrifices herself to save Katie and Gemma. And then, yay, everything's great. And then M3GAN's dead, but she's really not. She shows up in the computer as like a little graphic, and she's there. So there we are.
Is she dancing?
She might have been. I don't know. She kind of has like a sassy pose. She strikes a sassy pose.
She vogues. I understand.
Not Vogues. That would have been better though.
You said she strikes a pose. Vogue.
Yeah,
So,
I know. That's true. I did.
Vogue,
It's such a great song.
move to the music. Come on, Vogue. Yeah, it is a great song.
Yeah,
I don't even like Madonna, and that's a good song. I mean, I think my favorite Madonna song still is probably Lucky Star.
It's a great song.
Or Crazy for You.
Crazy for You is so good.
It's a great song.
I'm partial to the Blue album. The True Blue album.
Oh, see, no, I don't love that one because it's like the transition between serious Madonna and early Madonna.
I know.
And, you got to listen to fucking Papa Don't Preach and all that bullshit.
Oh, see, I like that.
I wish that, like, they had filmed the video before she finished the lyrics so that it was called Danny Aiello Don't Preach, but oh well. Do you not remember that he's her dad?
Oh, I remember. I remember the good old days of MTV.
Danny Aiello Don't Preach. Yeah, I worked with him once.
Okay. This conversation has taken a turn.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's go back to M3GAN. I'm sorry.
No,
so I never saw M3GAN, which you have encouraged me to do multiple times.
It's great.
And
it's so fun.
And you are certain that I would love it, and I probably would. I just have never gotten around to it. I don't know why. You know, maybe it's because I've got a mild anti-Allison Williams thing going on.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Well,
yeah, then you're not going to like it because she's in so much of it.
I don't have an anti-Allison Williams thing in the sense that I think she's like shitty or anything. I just I just don't like Nepo babies. So.
Oh my God, Dave, they populate all of Hollywood.
They're all Nepo babies
everywhere.
Now.
Just when you think like, oh no, there's not that many, or oh, that actor I like is not. No, they almost all are.
Yeah,
almost all of them.
I mean, the fucking third movie we're going to talk about tonight, My Mom Jayne, it's about Mariska Hargitay, and she's a fucking Nepo baby.
Yeah.
So.
Listen, it's all in who you know.
I know. You can even be a Nepo baby if your mom dies when you're 3. I mean, my God.
Yes. I was like, that's a spoiler for what's coming down the pipeline when we talk about My Mom Jayne.
Oh, you know what? I assume that people know about Jayne
No. I don't mean a spoiler. I don't mean that you're spoiling her life. I mean that's a spoiler because we'll be talking about that later. That's all I'm saying.
Yes. I beg your pardon.
Yes. No.
But it does bum me out, though, to hear you say that this movie is no good or is not terrible, but not good.
Yeah, it's not that it's no good. And judging by the audience I saw this with, I am in the minority. People were laughing up a storm. They were fucking loving this. So I could not, certain scenes, especially in the beginning, I could not roll my eyes harder. Like I was just like, this is just stupid. This is not funny. This is just obnoxious. The writing is just not good in a lot of this. And I think M3GAN was such a delight, the first one, because it was a surprise. I was not expecting it to be that delightfully jubilant and fun and campy, and it just was great. And it's a horror movie, it's a sci-fi, but this has touches and allusions to other sci-fi. Like there's very clearly an homage to Metropolis in this with Amelia. She's wearing like this metal outfit and she's in this like kind of case that looks very much like straight out of Metropolis. And there are other touches like from like The Thing. And there are other ones now that are eluding me, but yeah, there are a lot of touches to other sci-fi films, but yeah, it really leans in heavily to the action element and the comedy of it. And I get that you want to maybe do something different, but I was so frustrated because I want more. And I think about a movie like Smile, which I love the first Smile. And the second Smile, I was not the biggest fan of, but it's well done. But that one goes in a very different direction, but it still leans into the horror and it just kind of ratchets it up. And that's what I thought this was going to do, and it doesn't, which is frustrating. But it's not a bad film. Like some of the performances are really good, some are really abhorrent. Like the guy who plays his name is Christian, and he's ultimately the villain. His performance is so bad. It's just bad. And some of the dialogue is not good. And so it's flawed, but kind of fun, sort of parts of it, but it just pales in comparison to the original because the first film is just very sharply crafted. It's surprising to me how well done it is and what just a joy it was. And then I had this and I'm like, okay, it's just not as good in comparison, but it's all right.
28 years later, you.
I still haven't seen it, so I can't say, but for very much.
They can't all be The Godfather Part 2, I guess, you know?
I guess not. But like, I see where this was going and it could have been great because the first film is also a really fascinating depiction of how a child deals with grief and the death of their parents. And this one is very much about a teen testing boundaries as well as AI and its ubiquity in our lives and the dangers of that. And also, but it also kind of throws in the military industrial complex, but doesn't actually have any commentary on that, which is just kind of weird. It just feels like it's just thrown in there. So it's got some ideas that are, some are compelling, some are potentially compelling, but it doesn't all come together for me. But it's all right. It's not bad.
Okay.
Just not as good as the first.
Bummer.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
All right. What are you going to do? Well, I'm still probably going to see it if I ever see the first one. So there you go.
Yeah, you should definitely see the first one.
Okay.
But yeah.
Noted.
And I hope you do like it.
Yeah, I we'll see.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Let's talk about Rent Free now, which is an indie comedy. And this is written and directed by Fernando Andrés. And it stars Jacob Roberts and David Treviño. And this is actually Jacob Roberts' film debut, which is interesting. So here is the synopsis from the press release. The sophomore film from Fernando Andrés, Rent Free, follows best friends Ben and Jordan, who, after hitting emotional and financial rock bottom, come up with a scheme to spend an entire year living rent-free with the help of friends, family, and strangers alike in a rapidly changing Austin, Texas. So this premiered at Tribeca last year. And this is very, very indie. Like, this is the kind of film that, even though it's the director's second film, I very much feel like got his friends together, like that, like, you know, kind of filmed at various people's houses. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, because there were not a lot of press notes, so there was not a lot of information about the making of this. But the director, in a statement in the press notes, did say that he was inspired by some of his own experiences and his own financial anxieties. And he is a queer filmmaker. And these two characters are both queer. They're both bisexual. And the film starts off where they're in New York. And one of them wants to live in New York City desperately. And then his apartment, he's going to live with a couple of friends in this really nice apartment, and it falls through because while it's a couple, it's a man and a woman, while the guy is drunk, he makes a pass at him because they used to hook up, and he's like, hey, is your wife cool with you hooking up with guys? And the guy doesn't really say anything. And then he just starts giving him a blowjob. And then the wife walks out and is like, what the fuck is happening? And so they start fighting. And then they're like, okay, you can't stay here. So then he gets kicked out. And so the two friends, Ben and Jordan, have to leave. And so they spend a day. Oh, actually, that day is their last day together in New York. And so they do all these things for free. So then they decide to go back to Austin. And then the other guy who was not going to move to New York, he's his girlfriend breaks up with him, and so he tries to commit suicide by ODing on pills in the tub.
Jeez.
Yeah, and this is like in the first 10 minutes. So we're just going hardcore right away. So then the guy who's going to move to New York is like, hey, we did a free day in New York. I want to go back to New York. Why don't we spend a whole year here in Austin just couch surfing and spending our time crashing at friends' apartments? We know so many people here. We could just do that, and I could save up money, and then I could move to New York. And then later, the other friend who got dumped is like, yeah, I want to move to New York too. Let's do this. So that's the whole premise of the movie. And so they're basically just couch surfing, and everywhere they go, there's like some kind of shenanigan. And like the first place they go, it's a rager kind of every night, which they're totally into, and they're partying and they're thinking this is great. And then they keep talking about one of the roommates. We'll just call him Joe. And they're like, yeah, Joe is going to be fine with you guys being here. He's going to be totally cool. He'll be chill. Well, let me tell you, when Joe comes home, he's not cool and he's not chill. And he's like, what the fuck are these guys doing here? So then one of the guys is like, okay, you got to go. You got to go. So then they have to quickly leave and go somewhere else. And meanwhile, so one of the guys is doing essentially like DoorDash or Uber Eats, and he's getting argumentative with people who don't leave him good tips. And
always smart.
Yeah, I know, right? And he also may or may not be a sugar baby. I'm not sure, because sometimes he's with men who are very rich and are paying. So maybe he used to be a sugar baby. Not entirely sure. And then the other guy who got dumped by his girlfriend, he hooks up with a guy because he's like, they were at a party, and he's like, you came out as gay when we were in high school, and you made me feel comfortable to come out as bi. But then it's interesting because people talk about both of them, where like the guy who had the girlfriend, everyone thought he was straight, even though he's bi. And then the other guy, everyone thinks he's gay, even though he's also bi. So there are these assumptions being made about them amongst their friends. And then the guy who got dumped by his girlfriend, he starts hooking up with a guy, and doesn't want to talk about it with his friend, and his friend's pissed off. He's like, I tell you everything when I hook up with somebody. And he's like, stop making it weird. So they're having their own struggles, and they basically just keep going from house to house to house, and there's always a problem. And one of the problems, the guy who got dumped by his girlfriend, he commiserated with a woman who got dumped by her girlfriend, and her house is a disaster, or her apartment. And he's like, I'll help you. I'll pick up your whole apartment. And she's like, that's so nice. Yeah, thanks. Do that. And so he does that for her, and he makes the place look so nice. And then she has a fit of rage because she's like, the place is too empty. I can't handle this. You got to get the fuck out right now. And so it's just that's the whole movie, is just one shitty situation after another after another. And as the movie's coming to a close, they're going to house sit at an Airbnb. It's not an Airbnb, but it's like a house sitting app, kind of like Airbnb. And there's a girl there, she's not a girl. I was like, she's a college student, but actually she's not. She's an RA, but even though she's not a college student, it's a whole thing. And she talks to them about their astrological signs, and she's like, you guys are not compatible. And then she's like, you guys should just fuck though. And they're like, wait, what? And she's like, yeah, then you'd get all your problems out. And they're like, we don't have any problems. Oh, but they actually do. And they argue because then the guy who had the girlfriend, he hooks back up with his girlfriend because she went to LA and she's back from LA. And then he's like, I'm going to go to LA too. And the other friend is pissed off. He's like, well, you're supposed to go to New York with me, blah, blah, blah. And so as they're fighting, he then kisses him, and he's like, what are you doing that for? And then he's like, I don't know, it was something to do. Did you feel anything? And the guy's like, no, it just felt weird. And he's like, yeah, it did feel weird, but now we did that. And so then they're staying at one of their apartments that's been empty this whole time. And they got drunk, and this is when the whole kiss happened. And anyway, they fall asleep together and they're cuddling, and then they wake up and they're still good friends. And then they go about their business. And so the one friend he's going to move back home to a town in Texas and stay with his dad. Because that was a detour too, where they stayed with his dad for a little bit and his brothers. So he's going to do that and save up money. And the other one's going to move back with his ex-girlfriend, who's now his current girlfriend again, I guess, and go to LA. And that's where the movie ends.
Boo! Happy Halloween. Boo.
Boo. Yeah. Are you booing their life choices?
It just seems like it's not very interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I did not find it interesting. And I'm sad to say that. And I'm always sad to say that about indie. Well, I'm really any film, but especially an indie film. But it wasn't. It just, I never felt connected to the characters. I never felt I was interested by their conversations. It's an intriguing concept. And it was one that I was like, okay, this is set up to have great conversations about class, about money issues, about the rising cost of rent and housing and people being pushed out of the housing market and, the failures of late stage capitalism, kind of all these things. And no, all it is just like a fuck fest. And that's fine, I guess, but it just didn't work because it wasn't funny to me and it wasn't sexy to me. So I'm like, I don't give a shit who's fucking. And the kind of depth I was craving just never transpired. And I know one of the actors is queer and the filmmaker is queer. I don't know if they're bi, and I don't know if the other actor is bi or queer. But as a bi woman, I felt, at first I was kind of excited because I'm like, oh, this is great. There's two queer characters and this is exploring their sexuality and their relationships and their friendship. But it just kind of felt like it was perpetuating a lot of inadvertently some bi stereotypes, like, oh, bi people just are fucking all over the place. And I will say there's a part of me that's like, okay, it's cool that each of them is having sex with men and women. That's cool. But you don't need to have sex with men and women to validate your bisexuality. Like, you're bi regardless of who you date or sleep with. So it just kind of irked me on that level too. So yeah. So it was fine. I will say something you'll be very glad about. The sound design was good.
Doesn't happen with the indies.
No.
All the time.
No. So that was good. And Macon Blair has a cameo. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Does he get to kill anybody?
No, I wish.
That's all right.
No, he plays a grouchy, I think photographer, because one guy is doing like DoorDash and the other guy is an aspiring photographer. And so he's trying to get Macon Blair to hire him and like, look at my photos. And Macon Blair's like, yeah, no, that's not happening. So.
I don't know why. First of all, I keep wanting you to call them Ben and Jerry instead of Ben and Jordan. Yeah. And then I forgot what I was going to say about Macon Blair. So.
About killing?
Yeah. It wasn't about killing. It was something else. Oh well.
Okay. Oh, well.
Well, you've spoiler pieced me into not wanting to see it. So there you go.
That's a bummer. But yeah, again, a good concept. I just was frustrated with the end result, sadly. But
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, shall we move on to our final film of the evening?
Yes. Let's talk about the documentary My Mom Jayne, which is about Jayne Mansfield and is directed by McGraw Hargitay, who is Jayne Mansfield's daughter. And yes, as you said earlier, which is so true, that Jayne Mansfield died when she was only 3 years old in a car accident that McGraw Hargitay was in with her two brothers. Wild. So here's the synopsis from the press release. In her feature film directorial debut, and the first time she has delved into her mother Jayne Mansfield's story, Mariska Hargitay searches for the mother she never knew almost 6 decades after the Hollywood legend's tragic death. Through intimate interviews and an extensive collection of never-before-seen photos and home movies, she grapples with her mother's complicated public and private legacy, uncovering the surprising layers and depth of who Jayne was, not only to her fans, but also to those closest to her. And this had its world premiere at the Cannes Film Festival earlier this year. So, yeah, the film, I want to hear what you have to say, Dave, because I've been jibber jabbering a lot this episode, but I will just set things up that the film starts and Mariska Hargitay talks to the camera, or not talks to the camera, but there's voiceover about how, you know, she's reconciled. She's struggled with reconciling her mother's, you know, sex bomb, you know, sex kitten past. And she's always kind of turned away from it. And she's molded her career in a very different direction in her acting career. And she has her siblings sit down for interviews, and it's very clear they don't want to talk about this. Very clear right away. But they're very happy to help her because they clearly love her, but they don't want to delve into the past because it's really painful. And so, yeah, it's a mix of interviews with them and their memories, as well as archival footage and home movies and home photos, as well as Mariska Hargitay, and kind of fleshing out her childhood, her mom's life and childhood, as well as her real father, because she has been keeping this secret for about 30 years that Mickey Hargitay, who was her father, is not actually her biological father. It is Nelson Seville. And so that's revealed in this as well and digs into that. And yeah. So Dave, what did you think?
Oh, it's fine. See you next week. No, I think that, you know, whenever I see something like this, it's just kind of like, what the fuck are you doing this for, Mariska Hargitay? I mean, it's like, yeah, you got to do all your business and your personal stuff. But you know what? I found a lot of it to be very affecting, especially when you see her brother. I can't remember his name. It's not. I don't think it's Mickey Jr.
Zoli.
Zoli, just still so broken up about the car accident.
Yeah.
You know, like 57 years later, and just almost unable to speak about it still. And then you have, by comparison, her other brother, Mickey Jr., and her sister, who's well, they're all half siblings because of the circumstances about it. And also, just kind of like, for one thing, it's fascinating to see the outrageous sexism that Jayne Mansfield dealt with on live TV.
Yes. Good job, Jack Parr, you douche.
Oh my God. So there's that. And it just, I think that Mariska Hargitay painted a very vivid picture of how difficult her mother's life was. And how she made what seemed like the right choices at the time, many of which were not, but also given what she had been through and how she was raised and all those things, you know, when you learned that she lost her father when she was 3,
right,
which is crazy, and you know, good director's choice. Waits to drop that bomb until a good, you know, hour in. And Mariska Hargitay, who I don't really know much about other than she's been on SVU forever.
Yes.
She comes across as very sympathetic, but at the same time, not, you know, like she pushes for answers from people who don't want to give her answers. And I felt like her direction is steady. I mean, it's a little bit too, I hesitate to call this a documentary simply because, I mean, it is a documentary, but it's a documentary with a very prominent screenplay. I don't know how it's not like, you know, how you write the reality TV, but it's like, you know, it's not like it's not like just like I'm going to follow these people around and see what happens kind of documentary.
Right. It's structured. Yeah.
It's structured. It has, she's got a goal that she wants to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
She does accomplish. She sets out to find it. And the way in which she goes about trying to accomplish her goal is very, I wouldn't say it's like by the numbers. That's not because that sounds bad. It makes sense the way it's put together.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that I found really fascinating is that even though she's only publicly acknowledged Nelson, can't remember his last name, as her biological father for a couple of years now, she had to convince him and her two other sisters, look, we'll all be in each other's lives and we'll get to know each other, but you can't, because I don't want to break Mickey Hargitay's heart.
Right.
You can't say that I'm your sister and that you're my dad.
Mm-hmm.
What a fucking mind fuck.
Yeah. Sardelli is his name. I said the wrong name.
Yeah, you were thinking of the Chipmunk's dad.
I was. You're not wrong. But yeah, the fact that they all acquiesce to her and we're like, yeah, we'll go along with this and help you keep this secret. Like, what?
Well, also shows you what kind of personality she must have.
Yeah,
to convince
very persuasive,
near perfect strangers to
yes.
Do that.
Yeah.
But I also did like seeing that she clearly had a good relationship with Nelson Sardelli's other kids.
Yes.
And that's kind of sweet.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because I don't really need to like blow sunshine up an actor's ass or anything, but you do get the impression that she is like a genuine person who is valued by the people who know her,
mm-hmm.
which I think you can say a lot of famous people probably maybe don't have that.
Yeah, maybe not. I hope they do, but maybe not.
Yeah. Anyway, I wish I had more to say about it. It's just kind of a fascinating watch, and I don't really know anything about Jayne Mansfield's, personal life. So to hear the struggle that it was, and I didn't realize she was so young when she had the first kid. I didn't know she was 17.
Mm-hmm.
Married him when she was 16, had the kid when she was, and he was a kid too. Mm-hmm. Like I thought, just a couple of dopey kids out of high school. Don't do that, kids. Don't be like Paul and Jayne Mansfield. So it just, in that regard, it was pretty compelling. So,
mm-hmm.
But now you can yap some more because,
No, it's funny when you were saying that because I was thinking, because she got, I don't know I thought it was 19 that she got married, but 16 when she got pregnant, but 17 or 19, whenever it was, it doesn't matter. She was a teenager. She was a baby.
Right.
And I was thinking about that because my mother got married to my father when she was 19. And so that's just fucking nuts. Like, you're a baby. What are you doing? It's crazy.
Yeah.
But so I loved this. I was absolutely riveted. And for all of the same reasons that you said, you kind of hit on the overview of everything that I found really intriguing and compelling. And I like the structuring of this. I don't, and I'm not saying you said you minded this. I don't mind that there is very clearly a point of view and a purpose and a mission, and she is sticking to that. I'm okay with that. And especially because it yields such a compelling watch. And I really appreciate how vulnerable Mariska Hargitay is in this, as well as the vulnerability of her family members. That I think is very apparent, and how much they're willing to open up and reveal. And like, I think about her brother Zoli talking about the car accident and how he was like, I thought there was a blonde woman in the front seat and I thought it was my mother, but no, it was this other woman who got us out. And I'm like, oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah.
And then how he, like, the other brother woke up and was like, where's Maria? Because they also called her Maria, and which is a whole thing that they discuss in the film too. And they're like, where's Maria? And everybody's like, wait, what? And
Yeah,
then
the
they had to,
EMT was like, what are you talking about?
right? And then they had to go back, and she was buried as a 3-year-old under like the seat of the car. Like,
Yeah.
it's just it's crazy. It, like, the whole story is just wild. I knew about Jayne Mansfield dying in a car crash. I had no idea that her lawyer, who she was in a relationship with, also died, or that the chauffeur died, or that her kids were in the car. Like, what a traumatic moment. My God. On top of the fact that you lose your mother at such a young age. Like, Jesus, that's just, wow. It's just awful. But I really appreciated all of the components of how this unfolds, and we get to learn about her mother and her career in Hollywood as well as her life before that. But yeah, in addition to the kind of horror of the car crash and of how wild it is that she's been keeping this secret for 30 years about the true identity of her father, there are a few other things that really stuck with me. And one is, like you said, the raging sexism and the fact that Jayne Mansfield spoke 4 languages, and the fact that she was so talented as a musician that she could have played Carnegie Hall because of her being such a great pianist and a great violinist. And yet she kept having to go into these bombshell, dumb blonde roles, and she tried to be a serious actress, and that didn't really work out for her. And even right from the start, when she came to Hollywood, and she says, like, you hear her voice, and she's like, oh yeah, the head of Paramount told me, well, we're wasting, your assets are being wasted. And I'm like, oh my God, like, yeah, they mean your boobs, like, what are we doing here? And it's so disgusting and so despicable. And that scene where she's on the show with Jack Parr and she's trying to play the violin, that just broke my heart, because she's trying to, like, tighten the bow, and the audience is laughing and he's laughing, and she's like, and she's so nice. She's like, I don't know what's funny about that. And then she starts playing, and she's playing well. And he's like, oh, shut up and kiss me. And I'm just like, I wanted to fucking punch him. Like, what a jerk. And then, here's this woman who is trying to stretch her artistic wings, is trying to show she's so much more complex than what she is, how she's been portrayed. And just society and Hollywood won't let her. It was just, it was heartbreaking. And then on top of that, you have, her children who are still reconciling with her life choices of, dealing with depression and, issues with drugs and alcohol and being with some abusive men. But then you have Mickey Hargitay, who sounds like a saint. Like, yeah. Oh my God. And listening to his wife talk about him and how he was like, and then we also hear about how Mariska Hargitay confronted him after she found out, like, she found a letter saying, to, like, from her grandmother or something. She found a letter about him, about her father, Nelson Sardelli, and she confronted Mickey Hargitay, and he's like, no, I'm your father. I'm your father. And her stepmother said he was your father till the day he died, and he wouldn't waver from that. Because he in every way, he was her father. But just the fact that he didn't even think twice about it. And, he and his wife, Jayne Mansfield, are estranged. And she has a 3-month, romance with somebody else, and then gets pregnant, and then comes back. And he's like, that's my child. And, like, he just made such a loving home for her and for her siblings. I don't know. It just was really lovely. It just was really lovely, considering there were so many shitty men in Jayne Mansfield's life. It was like, well, at least there's one who is really great and really lovely. And Nelson Sardelli seemed, really nice too, even though he got mad at her when she asked the question, like, hey, if I showed up with another man's baby, what would you do? And he'd be like, why are you asking me this? Get out of here. We're done. But yeah, so on top of all that, what I found, the overarching theme of reconciling with memories you have as well as memories you don't have of your mother and getting an accurate picture of her, I just found that really heartbreaking and really intriguing because it's clearly something she's wrestled with her whole life. And it's kind of that thing where, you know, your parents are people too, but you don't always fully know them because you only know them as your parent. So that part of it I just found really, really fascinating. And then there's the whole piano, and I love that that's how it ends, was her getting her mom's piano back from Engelbert Humperdinck. Of all people.
Yeah.
Like,
and her husband got it for her.
Yes, he did.
As a surprise gift.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, by the way, they've been married for ages, and I didn't know that was her husband because I think he was on Sex and the City, or he was on something, not Sex and the City. No, I think he was on Sex and the City once. Anyway, I've seen that guy in a bunch of stuff and had no idea that was her husband until this too. And then I looked and I was like, oh, they've been married forever. How nice. But yeah. Yeah. But I cried through so much of it. Just, what an incredible story. Like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And I think it's a really well told story too.
Yeah, I think that she's got some directing chops. I mean, she's directed episodes of SVU. Obviously, documentaries are very different, but
yes.
But she's a good storyteller, is the short version.
Agreed. But you know what? My favorite documentaries tend to be the ones that feel more like a narrative. So, yeah. Although sometimes I like the weird abstract documentaries too. Anyway, but yes, I definitely think she's an excellent storyteller. But yeah, it's weird because I used to love SVU, but there's so many like problematic things about it. But she's great. I always liked her on that show. So
yeah.
And I like that I don't know a lot about her, but I do know this. I like that she has taken, that acting and she's leveraged that to advocate for women who have been, sexually assaulted and dealt with abuse. And I think that that's great that she's used her platform for that. So,
yeah.
And she's a great storyteller, like you said.
Yes.
Any final things you want to say about My Mom Jayne?
No, it's worth watching. Go do it.
Yeah. I will say it makes me want to see her movies, especially that one. I can't remember the name of it, but there's one where she's talking to Joan Collins, and that was like her foray into more serious roles. And I was like, I want to watch that because I do like Joan Collins too. So,
yeah,
gonna go check that out.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's do a recap. So, M3GAN 2.0 is in theaters as of Friday, June 27th. I wouldn't really recommend it. I think you should just watch the first one, but it's not bad. If you go to see it, you might have a good time. So it's kind of a tepid, whatever. Rent Free is on VOD, June 27th. I hate to say it because I love a queer indie film, but I'm going to have to pass on this one.
Okay.
And then My Mom Jayne, it debuts at 8 p.m. Eastern on Friday, June 27th on HBO, and is also going to be available to stream on Max. Dave, would you recommend it?
Absolutely.
I would too. I would enthusiastically recommend it. I really liked this. Like, almost so much so that I kind of want to go back and watch it again. I don't know. Maybe that's too much. I don't know. I'm a glutton for punishment. I want to cry all over the place. All right. Well, we want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor piece patron, Heather Sachs. Heather, thank you so much for your support.
Thank you, Heather.
And while we're doling out the thanks, we also want to thank our amazing editor, Otto Clamor. Otto, thank you for making us sound great.
Thank you, Otto.
You can get Spoiler Piece Theater anywhere you get podcasts. You can find us at our website, spoilerpiece.com. You can also find us all over the place on social media. We're at Spoiler Piece on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, Blue Sky. We're all over. So come say hello, come follow us. let us know which of these 3 movies are you most interested in seeing, or if you have seen them, which did you enjoy? Let us know your thoughts. We love hearing from you. And in addition to social media, you can also reach out to us by email, spoilerpiece@gmail.com, or you can give us a call
at 862-21-PEACE.
Leave us a voicemail message, text us, and stay in touch. Also, if you like the show, please consider rating and reviewing us. That helps us get the word out about the show, which helps a lot. You can go to ratethispodcast.com/spoilerpiece to take you to your preferred platform of choice. You can also just rate us directly on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, which is great. If you are a patron, thank you so much. And if you're not a patron, consider joining. For $5 a month, you get access to weekly bonus episodes. This week, we talked about the 1986 movie, The Manhattan Project, and we had some thoughts about it. It is a movie.
It is.
Yeah. And then you also get access to all of our bonus episodes, our back catalog of hundreds of bonus episodes, and you get to vote in monthly polls. And we will be having a poll next week. So there's that. And then you can also get our merch. If you go to our website, it'll take you to our TeePublic store where you can get all kinds of goodies that let the world know you love Spoiler Piece. And thank you so much for listening. My name is Megan Kearns. I write for Edge Media Network. I'm a co-host of the Slashers podcast, member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and a member of Gallica. You can follow me on Blue Sky and Twitter at OpinionS World, or on Instagram and Letterboxd at The OpinionS.
And my name is Dave Riedel. I write about movies. I'm a member of the Boston Online Film Critics Association, and I'm on all the social medias except Twitter as Dave Sees Movies, and I'm on Blue Sky as David Riedel.
Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks. Bye.